In the year 1955, the United States government conducted tests of nuclear weapons in the Nevada desert. During those tests, they exploded a total of 14 atomic bombs. At the same time, school children were taught to duck under their desks to survive the coming inferno of mutual assured destruction. Ellie, private investigator, travels into a case that's almost too hot to handle.
I'm Ellie Adder, private investigator, and I never know when a case will come my way. It was high summer in Texas. It was 95 degrees at my home, and out of the blue I'm offered a case in far west Texas, where 95 is just a warm day. My new and influential client arranged for me to catch a ride on a Hughes Tool Company plane to Odessa. From there, I rented a sturdy station wagon to carry me further west. I arrived at the 10,000-acre ranch of the Jennings family and easily found my way to the main house. A housekeeper ushered me into a large, cool room where I met my new client.
Hello, Miss Adder. I'm Maud Jennings, and I want you to find my husband.
I'm happy to meet you, Miss Jennings.
Call me Maud. We're just country folk here, and I insist on no formality.
Of course. Now, Maud, your husband is missing.
Yes, it's been several days, and Howard, my husband, is nowhere to be found. I want you to find him.
I can do this. If he's to be found, I'll find him. Tell me more.
Howard's family has owned the ranch for generations. Our 2 grown sons run the ranch. Harvey manages the beef cattle side, and Hubert takes care of the oil wells. Howard is a scientist and has an experimental agricultural project out in the desert, where he's trying to grow date palms and olive trees and water them with deep artesian wells.
He's not at this project.
No, he's not at the farm. That's what we call it, the farm. Silly project. Wastes nothing but money. Anyhow, he's not there. I phoned his foreman, and nobody at the farm has seen him for days.
Let me start by looking at Howard's office and see if I can find a clue or two.
Excellent. I'll have Mary show you the way.
The housekeeper left me in Howard's office. I plopped down in his big leather chair behind his big leather-covered desk. After sorting through the accumulated detritus, I was no further along on my quest when Mary returned with a cup of coffee.
I figured you would need some coffee by now.
Yes, thank you, Mary. By the way, can you guess where Mr. Howard might have gone?
Mr. Howard has some very unusual ideas, and he sees things you and I don't see. You know what I mean? Scientists. They live in other places from the rest of us.
I guess so. Mary, do you have any more particular notions of where he might be?
His vision is long. Go into the desert. Go deep into the desert.
With that final bit of sage brush advice, Mary left me to my coffee. Out of coffee and lacking any other ideas, I decided to drive out to the farm and talk with the foreman and the other farm workers. A journey of an hour on a pretty decent gravel road brought me to a sort of valley surrounded by rugged hills. I saw palm trees and other signs of a farming operation, but the road led me towards the hills and ended at a small building that was right up against the sheer rock of the hillside. When I stopped, a man walked out onto the porch. I called from the car. "Hello, I'm looking for the foreman."
How can I help you?
I studied the man before me. Maud had shown me Howard's picture, and this guy, while looking a bit unshaven and haggard, was Howard. You are Howard Jennings. Your wife is worried about you and sent me to find you. I'm Ellie Adder.
Come inside, Ellie. It's too hot to talk out here.
We went inside. He walked across the room and into a hallway. I followed, but was becoming a bit anxious. The walls of the hallway quickly transitioned from wood to rock, and I deduced that we were walking into the hill. After a bit, we came into a brightly lit workroom with benches cluttered with all sorts of tools and machinery.
Well, Buckaroo, what do you think about my atomic bomb shelter? There are blast doors behind you that'll seal us off from the coming inferno of man's inhumanity to man.
I looked behind me.
Watch your fate.
I watched as 2 huge steel doors slid out of the wall to seal off my exit. Your wife, Maud, told me that the foreman said you were not here.
I paid my foreman to tell my wife that. I've sent all the workers home. I want everyone to stay away from here. Do you realize the end for humanity is near?
I do know that your wife and sons are worried about you and want you to come home.
Foolish you, Buckaroo. While the nations of the worlds have been busy planning how to destroy each other, the aliens have come.
Excuse me? Aliens?
Yes. In our ignorance, and while our backs were turned, the aliens came and are replacing our loved ones with themselves. I built this bomb shelter to save my family from the nuclear blasts, but now my family members are no more. They have been replaced by aliens.
Gee, Howard, I don't think that is the real situation here.
I've decided to leave here and go to a new place, in another dimension, where I'll be safe. I'm the only one left, you see.
Howard grabbed an object off of the bench beside him and pointed it at me. It looked a lot like Buck Rogers' ray gun, and not like a real pistol, but I decided to take no chances.
You are an imposition on my plans.
I can leave now.
No, you will come with me. See, once the bomb shelter was no longer needed, I turned my attention to building a rocket ship to take me to a safe dimension where warring nations and cruel aliens don't exist.
He waved the ray gun at me and we headed off down another corridor. Soon, a long shape emerged out of the dark. We came to his rocket ship, and by the work lights I could see a long silver shape with fins, but also with wheels. It looked to be more of a rocket car. Howard opened an invisible door in the car and ushered me inside. He put me in a thickly cushioned seat and secured me with a number of straps. He got into the seat next to me and fastened his safety straps. He started pushing buttons, and I heard a high-pitched whine that quickly transitioned into a roar. I deduced that it was a jet engine, not a rocket engine. That somehow was a comforting thought. Howard pushed a button, and doors opened in front of us, and I was looking down a long, straight road. He pulled back a lever, and the engine whine increased, and we began to move.
We will go faster and faster. Watch as we approach the speed of sound. When we break the sound barrier, I will kick in the hyperthrusters and we will be projected into another dimension. We will leave all our worldly strife behind.
That was not a comforting thought.
Hold on tight, Buckaroo. This may be a bumpy ride.
Howard pushed a few buttons and then pulled back a lever. Suddenly, the afterburner kicked in and we were thrust forward at an alarming speed. Suddenly, the car lurched to the left. Howard overcorrected and we swung around to the right and then just flipped over and began to tumble violently. I'd seen a button labeled parachute on the console and now seemed a good time to push it. The parachute opened with a snap. car stopped tumbling and we were sliding down the road. We stopped. I felt banged about and a little dizzy. I looked over at Howard. He seemed groggy too, and his wrist was bent at an unnatural angle.
Oh, my God. What happened? Oh, my wrist is broken.
Howard, welcome to your new dimension. I'm sure your plan worked. Let's immobilize your broken wrist and see about finding a ride into town. I'm sure you want to learn about your new world.
Yes. I feel better already. Come on, buckaroo. Let us savor our new life.
I got Howard out of the crumpled jet car, and we made it to a highway where a friendly Texas highway patrolman took us to the hospital. I phoned Maud, and she and her sons came and gathered up Howard. Maud wrote me a huge check, and later, when I was home, she told me Howard was happy in his new dimension at a private residential clinic outside of Dallas. Would you believe Howard and I ended up in an alternate universe? Where do I come up with these things?
You have been listening to Ellie, Private Investigator, and the Case of the Journey Beyond Reason. Ellie will return for another story of mystery and adventure. Our cast: Ellie P.I., was played by Emma Bryan. Howard was played by Jason Marion. Maud was played by Suzanne Warmack. And Kelly Martell played Mary. Written and produced by Jason Marion and Roger Marion. Music by Jason Marion. This is your announcer, Ben Pearson. Have a pleasant evening.